Hey everybody, it's Anna Runkle here, also known as the Crappy Childhood Fairy. I want to paint a scenario for you of what it's like to heal the symptoms of your childhood PTSD. And maybe you can't see it yet and you're discouraged, but I'm going to tell you in this video why you totally get to have hope and even excitement about this. I'm someone who's healed from it, and I'm here to tell you healing is possible. If you're new to my work, that's what I talk about here, the effects on our lives now of abuse and neglect when we were kids, and how to heal from that. Things like intense emotional reactions to things that are a little beyond what people consider normal, depression, anxiety, fears of abandonment, addictions, health problems that go on with no rhyme or reason. These are some of the common long-term effects of early exposure to abuse and neglect. Or maybe you struggle with relationships, which is really normal for us, and I mean romantic relationships and friendships. Some of us hang on too hard, and others of us get really stressed out from dealing with people at all. And then there's stuff like you didn't even realize could be connected to childhood trauma, like being overweight, or having ADHD, or having chronic back pain even. The more research comes out, the more you start wondering what isn't caused, or at least made worse, by childhood trauma. Now, for those of us who have it, it can be a huge relief to know we're normal. These are common effects that happen to normal people exposed to abnormal conditions. And that's good to know, right? It's not your fault. But that's not enough, I know, because the real question is, how do we recover? Now, if you have childhood PTSD, I'm going to bet that you're a good person, you're intelligent, you want to change for the better, and not only for yourself, but for your kids or your partner or your future partner, or just plain so you can stop feeling so bad. And I bet you've tried a lot of things already, maybe therapy, medication, alternative stuff, spiritual stuff, physical stuff, books, groups, classes, exercises, affirmations, changing your self-talk, supplements, expressing your anger or not expressing your anger. You could probably add 5 more things to this list, right? And if you're like most of us, none of it worked. Not really. And you're still feeling stuck, feeling even like you failed somehow, or like something's wrong with you because this stuff seems to work for other people. Why not you? I get it. That's how I felt, and I still feel that way when I try normal people solutions. That's what I call them. They didn't work for me. They don't help with the thing that I've got, and now we know why. So the whole reason I make these videos and online courses is because I found out what the problem is, and I found out what helps. Actually, not in that order. First, I healed from my childhood PTSD symptoms, and then I set about trying to figure out what just happened. Why did that work? And I got some answers, and I want to tell everybody the problem I had, and that you might relate to, is brain dysregulation. We now know that abuse and neglect and chronic stress early in your life causes brain changes. And what that looks like now as adults, if you look at MRIs and brain scans, it causes irregularities in the way the brain responds to new stressors. For one thing, it can make brain waves that normally flow in a kind of harmony suddenly go out of sync, kind of like you're listening to someone play Mozart on the piano and then a bear just starts jumping around on the keys. It's something like that in your brain when your PTSD turns on. Now, another thing going on in our brains is that under stress, the left front cortex, when you look at it on an MRI, decreases activity. That's where our reasoning happens. And at the same time, it can cause the right front cortex to get overactive. Do you want to guess what happens over there in the right front cortex? It's where our emotions are regulated, or not. Not enough thinking, right? Too much feeling. And this explains so much about why childhood PTSD can make us unable to recognize a bad choice when it's staring us right in the face, and why we have such intense overreactions when we feel threatened or criticized or, worst case scenario, abandoned. And it could play a big role in why we seemingly make the same mistakes over and over again, even though we're sure we're never going to do it again, right? It's not our fault we got this way, okay? And it's not our fault that reading about it, talking about it, willing ourselves to be different somehow never worked. So now we know. And here's what we've learned. Childhood PTSD, it's not in your mind. It's in your brain. So how do you heal that? You know how I told you I healed first and then I found out what did it. So I was in a period with the worst PTSD symptoms I'd ever had, and this is back when I was about 30 years old. Now remember, I didn't know it, but I already had childhood PTSD, and in this short period of time, I got hit with 3 giant stressors. I detail this in the story of my healing from childhood PTSD in my course, so I'm not going to go into the whole story right here, but you can check that out in the links below. Well, I was physically and emotionally a wreck. And I had tried all those things I was listing at the beginning of this video, and I was really hopeless because nothing was working. And I was doing everything, and I was feeling worse. And then an acquaintance of mine offered to show me a technique she'd been using, and I tried it. And I kept doing it, and within just a couple of weeks, my brain was okay. My dysregulated brain grew regulated. And it turned out I had to keep using this technique or I would just kind of slide back into dysregulation. But I kept doing it. And I'm telling you, the difference between being regulated and dysregulated is like night and day. Now, you are actually familiar with both states because we all get dysregulated sometimes, and most of us will eventually come back to a regulated state. But with childhood PTSD, we get dysregulated more easily, and it happens more often, and it's harder to come back from it. So it turns out the most important thing I did was learn to notice when I'm dysregulated and right then use my techniques to come back to a regulated state. By doing this, I can spend less time dysregulated and do less of the things that I do while dysregulated, like shoot my mouth off or make bad decisions. And I can spend more time regulated with full access to my awareness and clear perception and inner calm. And from here, real change in life becomes possible. Because it is just a fact. When you have childhood PTSD, when you're dysregulated a lot of the time, a bunch of life problems tend to pile up. So that's what I teach, and so far, for thousands of people who've taken my online courses, it's working. And it's working like nothing ever has worked for these folks before. And I'm putting a link down below where you can see some of the things people have said about my Healing Childhood PTSD course, and you can get some information if you think that's something you might benefit from. But here's what I want you to know. The good life that you thought was taken away from you, it is waiting for you. The real you, the person you were meant to be, is still in there waiting until it's safe. And when you start healing, you're going to start feeling a strength that you never knew you had and a joy that you thought you'd never find. Your full human experience, yes, it includes pain and loss in your past, and it includes the possibility of something better now, a feeling inside of being okay, not being scared all the time, taking pleasure in the small things that are already around you, learning to go slowly and connect for real with people who you choose, setting about to learn something new and actually doing it, creating opportunities for yourself, contributing something only you can contribute to this world, because that's where real happiness is. So just hold this image in your mind and know that this is possible. And you might find it hard just to entertain the thought. All the grief in you will fight back and say, no, I don't even want to hope for anything anymore. But if you can, just let that thought in. And if that feels like the train that you want to get on, I've got some tools on my website for you to get you started. That's all down there in the description section. And I'll see you next week.